I believe there was no challenging time but today's time where CIOs need to answer some very fundamental questions back to their stakeholders. That what could they really do to get them ahead in this AI competition, so to say, while still getting the cost as low as possible. In today's time, in fact, I would say, historically speaking as well, CIOs have been asked the question constantly: keep my run cost minimum. So, in a role where you are constantly being scrutinized at how much you're really investing on technology and what's the return on the business, dealing with a topic like AI is that difficult.
We are live here at the India AI Impact Summit, and I have Abhinav Johri from Ernst & Young with me. Abhinav, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Sanjay. Lovely to be here.
Wonderful. Abhinav, we have a global audience. Our audience is made up of policy leaders, entrepreneurs, AI experts. Just tell them a little bit about your role within E&Y. What do you do?
Sure. So Sanjay, thanks again for hosting me. My name is Abhinav Johri. At EY, I have been serving my clients around the mandates for cloud, journey to cloud, building products and platforms, and also helping them to understand the AI-led transformation for their businesses. So that's what myself and my colleagues help our clients do.
No, that's a very important thing. So in this AI transformation, Abhinav, a lot of boards, CEOs are examining the role of the value of AI, whether it's short-term, long-term. When you talk to your clients, how do you explain to them what should they do in terms of justifying the cost? Because sometimes the costs are pretty high, whether it is revenue gain, cost efficiencies. So tell our listeners, what is the value driven that you think?
Yeah, it's a very pertinent question. And maybe the right way to look at it is we should talk about clients and organizations in certain categories.
Okay.
We see clients which are large cap companies, very enthusiastic about adopting AI. And in such organizations, what we normally see is that they have a capital backing. So they are pretty good enough to take the heavy AI investments and then go immediately after the mandate. The second category and the third we can talk about is the mid cap and the small cap. There, the propensity of the AI investments is more calibrated, not too much capital to put at risk. But then, as we all know, at least AI is a level playing field for all the organizations. So they are far more pragmatic in terms of what AI can really do for their business, vis-a-vis the large organizations who can just go after it. Widely speaking, what we continue to observe with most of the organizations who are too enthusiastic about AI is how many experiments they can really do. How many POCs can they really churn out? An interesting observation, Sanjay, is most of the POCs and experimentations are often about bringing in an AI tool and deploying it on top of some layer, some architecture, broadly speaking. But where they really fail, and this we are observing more and more, is while the top layer can be very progressive, AI native, but the operating model carries a lot of legacy in terms of the way they come together to run the technology for business, the way they cater and take care of the data. Third, maybe the most important, how the plumbing looks like when AI needs to come together at a scale. Fourth, I didn't mention it earlier, but it's making sense to us as we are doing more and more interactions that often the expectation from AI is to bring some efficiency or optimization either on the cost or a revenue uplift. What organizations are largely struggling with is the adoption in business and who is the sponsor. We continue to see that these AI initiatives are largely tech-owned, and business continues to ask the same question, maybe what they would have asked 20 years back when they first took on the ERP modernization. What we would love to see, and there's a lot of promise there, is if these initiatives can be directly owned by business, because you must remember, it's not about putting up a new fancy UI. It's about bringing the change in the workflows, and workflows exist in the process and process with the business. So I think that's a transformative change we must all really work towards. Second, we also continue to believe that cloud, which is at the center of the AI, and data, which makes AI, they still are in silo. And we also often say to our clients that please do not look cloud only for a hosting. Treat this as a product slash platform which can help you operationalize AI rather than just help you host an AI tool. So I think that's a shift we would love to see when our clients and organizations need to about scale about AI.
So, Abhinav, just a few follow-on questions
Yeah.
on that. Do you think companies who think about absolutely re-engineering their business process, when we went to ERP, SAP, etc., there was this whole BPR business
Yeah.
process. Do you think AI is forcing or should force companies to rethink their process? That's question number one.
Yeah.
And then the question about cloud is, as you said, people are just thinking about hosting. What is the ideal strategy for a company for cloud? Is it a neo cloud? Is it a hybrid model? Some people are bringing stuff back because it's getting more and more
That's right.
expensive. So if you
Yeah.
can address that.
Perfect. Absolutely. It's a right probe. Um, Maybe we can divide this into a couple of layers. And th- we we remember the times when there was a high demand of doing our digital strategy, overlooking 3 or 4 years in a row. The way we see AI today, I think no strategy more than, I don't know, maybe months or weeks would make sense. Ideal way, what makes sense today, and we can only be sure of as of yesterday, is that perhaps to think about in two different pivots. One pivot is around doing a technology refresh and therefore the modernization of the foundational capabilities. Then that's where perhaps it makes sense to talk about what can I do with my cloud. It could be a public, could be a private cloud, and maybe could be a on-prem as to the data center. The other pivot which I was referring back is what can I do everything minus foundational capability, and that is where the heart of the transformation would largely sit because it caters to the business. It requires data. It requires everything which is modern and maybe cloud native as well. So therefore, when we think about a right strategy going forward for an organization which is very keen to do an AI transformation, there are a couple of facets of the operating model. One, we must start looking at what am I doing with my data? We know that there are a bunch of data products in the market. There are data clouds also available. But then could there be a possibility wherein I just don't look at data products or data as SaaS as layers, which I'm putting on some cloud, maybe making a data lake out of. But then question is my data connected throughout my ecosystem, irrespective of where it is lying? Which means we are referring to the modernized system of records, improvised system of interaction, and highly advanced and fluid system of experiences. The third part is where do I put money and where can we optimize? Two or three large components which uh, influences the total cost of ownership of any AI initiative is largely the infra and the cost per the model. And that's where the new cloud makes sense because at least it reduces your entry barrier for an immediate high capex slash opex on the GPUs which is required. So we personally believe that with the rise of sovereign cloud and bunch of neo cloud providers, a large part around the AI infrastructure is a promise. Reason being, it allows you to gain that agility at a lower cost, wherein your ability to do experimentation, if you will, is at a lesser TCO than what could have been with the global cloud providers. Second part, which is also very key to understand, is that how much of the trade off I need to do between how much I'm building versus how much I'm buying. And we always say one must build for the differentiation and you must buy for the speed. And as much as we look internal to the business, I think that all should be bought. You can buy a off the shelf product or you can buy a platform. But then the core has to be what am I doing with the data and the infrastructure? And I said before, I will say it again, The cloud is not for just hosting, it needs to operationalize the AI, which simply means I need to be AI native by design as much possible. Easier than done. We also see organizations who often want to infuse AI into what they have today. And it reminds me, Sanjay, of the time when the business was very excited about doing modernization of their on-prem product. You spoke about the repatriation to the on-prem data centers. But then infusing AI can only take you so much because it's again is a function of what is the span of my data. So if data continues to remain native and boundaried in one application, maybe it works very well. But we all know that our use cases spans over multimodal data, multi-applications data sets. So therefore, AI infusion into your current system will only take you so much. And therefore, going AI native as much possible for the internal facing business functions could be the right strategy. And for the outward facing, which is the front office, as much as we can build is a right choice because that's where the differentiation lies.
So, to our listeners, go AI native, not infuse AI. Let me ask you a question that's a big talk that's happening, and it's two-part question. The role of AI. Do organizations now need SaaS-based software like Salesforce, Workday?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen what
Yeah.
to the marketplace. And on top of it, has the role of a CIO changed because of AI? Because you said go to the businesses,
Yeah.
not to the technology.
Yeah.
So tell our listeners about these.
Absolutely. And in fact, somebody who serves CIO very closely, I believe there was no challenging time, but today's time, where CIOs need to answer some very fundamental questions to back to their stakeholders. Then what could they really do to get them ahead in this AI competition, so to say, while still getting the cost as low as possible. In today's time, in fact, I would say, historically speaking as well, CIOs have been asked the question constantly: keep my run cost minimum. So, in a role where you are constantly being scrutinized at how much you're really investing on technology and what's the return on the business, dealing with a topic like AI is that difficult. This is a technology for which returns are yet to be established. So it's not an unknown scenario where a CIO may walk up to the business or a board and say, "Hey, I need X amount of dollars or rupees for the AI investment," while my systems are still not completely serving the business. It's a bigger situation to be in.
Sure.
But we do see CIOs taking on the charge of large AI transformation. We also see organizations specifically hiring AI specific roles, mostly the people who have seen this journey quarter close and not traditional senior professionals who have grown from data centers to cloud, which simply means that there's a young talent who have seen the disruption very closely, and maybe they do not come with a lot of corporate baggage or working through hierarchies. And we are seeing organizations are very open now to have this talent on board. They may report into CIO, they may work along CIO, but I think it's a role which is only enabling and assisting CIOs to figure out where does the value of AI lead in their organizations. Interesting part is that the ownership from business, especially in AI today, and we just asked me about BPR as well, is actually a real question to answer simply because business has always been asking this question to tech. How much do I really get enabled with what I get from the tech function of the house? And that's the reason I firmly believe the day the narrative gets shifted from I'm going to get you a more fancier tool which can talk back to you, then to infuse it into their ways of working, I think that's where the skin from the business also starts coming in. Today, we see that a lot of AI initiatives about, as I mentioned earlier, deploying a tool, which is fantastic, but doesn't necessarily change the workflows or ways of working. Very recently, for one of our clients, we were addressing a problem that how do we change their system of experiences? And we helped them to shift from deploying just a bot to saying that, can I address your journeys wherever the user goes, whichever screen, whichever application, we don't care. But AI walks along. So, so I'm not now creating new screens. I'm not integrating screens. I'm not addressing dashboards. But whatever form factor, whatever system the user lives in, physical and digital both, the AI walks along. I think that's the way to look at it when we think about AI getting infused in a journey rather than a tool which is being handed over to the business to talk about. In these smaller cohorts, in the applications which may not be very business intensive, not high on mission criticality, it's a thought which is being really sought now. It will soon become a reality, and we are seeing this a lot in healthcare, pharma, retail, consumer products, so to say, wherein the organizations always had a decade or two decade of customer data with them. And the going in design principle is, if that was true, then can I use this data to build workflows? I don't think the death of the CRMs and the workflow products which are being catered as SaaS is near, but I think it's a function of the scale of the organizations. We see a lot of startups who do not buy any of the SaaS products. Maybe they buy PaaS and IaaS because that's how they build it. But most of their business workflows are being built natively by them on open source. So there's a reality out there, maybe not at scale. As I said, that legacy prohibits the innovation. But in the larger organizations, smaller cohorts, this has been experimented a lot. So I'm very optimistic that going forward, SaaS may have a very different definition, which is not necessarily linked to the licensing linked revenue, or the monetization strategies linked to the users, number of users. Maybe it will shift to transactions. Maybe it will shift to number of API calls I'm having to the databases I already own. So SaaS per se will have its different manifestation in the coming times, just because the complex engineering required to build a functional product is now black boxed. So I can build a fully functional product right from the UI to the back end with these AI tools available today. So that's a reality. And hence I say that SaaS manifestation will be very different in coming 5 years.
So things will change.
Very progressively, 100%. 100%.
I can't let you go without asking you about AI agents. Are your clients using AI agents?
Yes, they do. And we just 6 months ago, we were talking about agentic AI, and then the AI agent also got mixed up into it. I understand we use these two words interchangeably. Yeah, but then the AI agents, I think, is the most consumable way of getting AI to work for you. There are intricacies to it wherein now clients are talking about, do I need to really have an agents for everything? And you will recall, Sanjay, that organizations have always struggled with the problem of portfolio. From having 20 applications in a portfolio to having 4,000, 5,000, thousands of applications in a portfolio. So this AI agents, the velocity at which they are being created, unknowingly is also leading into a problem of big AI agent portfolios. So the question is, how do you run and govern them? Intelligent and forward-looking organizations are now also considering that, do I need specific agents for individual tasks, or do I build a master agent or a like the way I tell to my client, a dictionary of agents which can change its specific functions, supported by an MOE, which can cater to multi-natural tasks rather than for a specific risk. So AI agents is certainly the most consumable way of getting to AI. The caution is that you cannot produce 3,000 agents tomorrow and then deal with a lot of technical debt sitting out there. Problems hasn't changed. I think the face of it has really become very advanced. And we also see that the mix of agentic AI supported by the agentic factory perhaps could be the right model in the way we consume and deploy agents today. We are not seeing a world wherein we see bunch of agents being orchestrated and deployed on the fly. As the organizations become intelligent and far more clearer So where do they really need agent versus agentic AI? I think the trade-off between deploying bots, agents, and orchestrating them all together into agentic AI will become clearer. Are we there yet? I don't think so. Everybody is figuring it out what it means for them. And good news is this is pushing people across the pyramid to learn AI very closely, not only as user, but maybe double clicking on the technology and knowing how does it really work. That should bring far more clarity in where to deploy bot. So long answer, but I truly believe that agents will really get commoditized like the way applications were, and we will run into a problem of having agentic portfolio mismanaged and may not be necessarily governed. And I think that's where some consolidation should happen, wherein people should know where to build what.
So I think it's fair to say Abhinav is fairly positive about AI agents.
I'm 100%, very much, yes.
Finally, to our listeners, you are here at the India AI Impact Summit. Tell our listeners who couldn't come here, what is your impression and what you hope to achieve, just briefly.
Yeah, of course. So, I would say that an event of this sort is I think, magnificent. So, personally, congratulations to everybody who's been involved in pulling up an event like that. It has really put us on a global chart that India matters. An event like this, it inspires a lot, Sanjay. It instills a great promise that as a country, we are doing right stuff in being the part of the AI race. There's no doubt, and I think there's no second thought that the talent which is needed in building AI, whether in our country or in the West, is from here. And we all understand and know about it. I think, and I personally believe, this event must promote a lot of entrepreneurship, must promote a lot of local production of our own models, our own products, and thereafter enabling the ground level problem we still have to solve for. I know the people who have money, the big corporates who have money, they can always afford it. But I think till the time AI doesn't get into the households, it will not become mainstream, and that's what we need. So I sincerely hope that an event of this scale inspires those people. It inspires maybe ourselves also in putting AI to right use and also build right things for the country.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Such a
Thank you, Sanjay, for hosting me.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chief AI Officer podcast with Sanjay Puri. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to leave a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought. And share it with someone curious about the future of AI. Join us every Friday right here on the Kayo podcast as we share more stories and insights from the leaders shaping what's ahead.